expect a lot. A lot of people hype up basements because they're dark and nobody goes down there, but 99% of the time, there's nothing down there. So I was down in there with another investigator from LIPI, Tom, and we were on opposite corners of the basement, obviously lights off and everything. He had a digital audio. My dumbass forgot to turn mine on. So we were in opposite corners. Okay. Yeah. We were in opposite corners, and we were asking some right standard EVP questions. Give us a sign that you're here, blah blah blah. And he asked the famous question, now infamous question: if you don't want us here, can you? Yeah, I believe he said, "Can you make a noise?" 7 seconds pass, and then on his audio, you can hear a loud pop and glass shattering. Along with him screaming expletives left and right. But what actually happened was, like I said, he was on the opposite corner of the basement from me, and about 5 to 10 feet in front of me, a light bulb hit the floor and smashed, popped. We investigated it later on and didn't really know where the light bulb came from. We brought the curator from the museum down there, and he said, "Look, I don't even know. There's not even light bulbs like this down here."
Wow.
So we debunked it from having it just fall off one of the shelves that were next to it, because if it had just rolled off the shelf, it would have fell straight down. But this was in the middle of a pathway. It would have had to fly out about 3 feet off the shelf to hit and crash where it landed. So at the time, the only piece of equipment that I had on me was a plain old digital camera, point and shoot camera.
Yep.
So I turned the flash on very shortly after the light bulb smashed. I took 2 photos, and I have this photo, and I'll send it to you guys so you can share it with the fans. But I took 2 photos, and one looks normal. And then the second one, there's a black mass on the right side that we tried so hard to debunk. We tried to put, a finger in front of the lens. We tried to put someone behind the camera. We tried to put something in front of the camera to create the shadow. We could not do it. And we spent hours trying to recreate it in all the perfect conditions. So we're pretty confident that we captured an apparition.
Wow.
There's not really a noticeable form to it, but there's definitely just a large black mass right where the light bulb just shattered. So it was pretty significant. That's the most astounding thing that's ever happened in my paranormal career, for sure.
And
that doesn't happen.
And you're sure you left it there when you left?
Yeah, I'm very sure, because okay. we've gone back since, and I'm drawn to the basement now. I want to know what is down there, and over multiple other investigations, I've brought sensitives and psychics down there with us from our group, and while I try to antagonize whatever is there, which I don't usually do, but for whatever reason, I feel like I needed to. One investigator is actually channeling whatever is down there, and we narrowed it down to whatever being down there because it's attached to a rifle that's down there. There's an old musket. There's an old musket that we found on one of the shelves that, as soon as I went over and I started to touch it and mess with it, our sensitive started to get really agitated, and he said, like, all I see is, like, it's almost like buzzing in my head. Everything's going crazy. So whatever was down there really didn't like that I was touching his rifle. So that's how I kind of know nothing's following me back, because whatever's down there is tied to that rifle.
Okay. Well, that's at least reassuring.
Yeah,
You're leaving whatever it is there. When Amelia and I went out to the powder house, it was almost kind of like a joke that I had done it at the end, that I had said, and whatever spirit is here and trying to communicate with us, like, we're going to leave you here. But that I have to say, that's one of the things that kind of scares me about doing this ghost hunting. I don't want something to attach to me and start following me around.
Right. Well, actually, you said it jokingly, but it's exactly what, we say in our group, like every time. Every time we leave an investigation, no matter where, it could be a client's house that they don't really have any claims and nothing happened. We will always say, whatever's here must stay here. You're not welcome to follow me home. I'll come back and see you if you want to see me again. Just something as open-ended as that. You never know that could help. It's
just
not
letting
hurting,
it know there is no invitation for it to come with me. no
exactly
matter
right.
how interesting it might find me.
It can't hurt. It can't hurt.
You had said, as you were talking, that you said you brought a medium, and then you corrected yourself to say you're sensitive and you're psychic. You'll forgive my ignorance. Is there a connotation behind medium? I'm just curious why you made that correction.
So a medium is someone who can connect directly to the deceased and to spirits. So they're the people who can have a full-on conversation with someone who's passed away. A clairvoyant is someone who can feel spirits and kind of like feel what's going on, feel the energy of a place. And then you have empaths who can also feel the energy, but they feel more human to human energy.
Okay, so he said sensitives and psychics.
So a psychic is someone who can predict the future and can usually see the past as well as what's going on in the present of a situation. And a sensitive is someone who is just sensitive to all the energy around. So like, when we do a ghost hunt and I go somewhere and I get really, really like woozy and weird, that's being sensitive.
You're very sensitive.
I'm so sensitive.
You're a delicate flower.
I'm so delicate. Okay, so... Sorry, continue.
No, I was going to say, just out of that group, I'd say that sensitives are most common. It's just because like sensitives can simply just be someone who walks into an area and feels like, whoa, I feel like I just walked into a wall, or you walk into a room and you're like, I really don't feel like I'm welcome in this room, or for whatever reason. And a lot of sensitives might not even know that they're sensitive. They just get those feelings throughout the day and don't even think twice about them. So that we do have a few sensitives in our group, and we also have a few psychics. I don't know if our psychics can quite see into the future. If they can, they haven't told me the lotto numbers, and I'm kind of upset. But our psychics are pretty good at basically how we use our psychics in our investigations. When we get to a location, we tell them nothing about the history or even really the name of it usually. As we get there, we start setting up our tech equipment and doing walkthroughs and stuff. Our psychics will do a psychic walkthrough. So basically they're on their own program, walking around with a notebook and just picking up on whatever energy is in there, picking up on names, even faces, seeing stuff, hearing stuff, and just writing everything down that they pick up. And a lot of the time, surprisingly, what they pick up on is very, very, very accurate to the history of the location, or a lot of the times it'll coincide with audio evidence that we get. If we get an EVP of a name, they might have already written down that name before we even did the investigation, which is pretty substantial. So I have, prior to becoming a paranormal investigator, I was very, very skeptical of basically everything that we just said. And now that I'm seeing it in person, there's really no way to deny that this stuff is real.
Nice. Very cool.
I feel like this is the second person that we've interviewed who has, one, talked about broken light bulbs, and two, talked about, I didn't believe at first until suddenly I saw things that made me believe.
Well, I think you could say that's how most people are. I mean, seeing is believing, right?
Well,
exactly.
I suppose so, but like I have never been a disbeliever.
There's a healthy part of being a disbeliever as well. I'm incredibly skeptical of everything. So, and our entire group is really, so we will try to debunk our own evidence more than anyone else in the world. Not comparing ourselves to other group. I'm saying anyone looking at our evidence would critique our evidence. I'm saying we would critique it a little bit harder. Just because the founder always says, any evidence that we claim may be paranormal, we want to be able to take it to court and prove that it is not explainable. And that's the goal, really. So 99% of the time, the stuff that we get is, even if it could be explainable, we'll write it off. If it sounds like a man speaking, and it was a group full of girls, but there was a group with a man a little bit further down the path, or whatever it may be, we might write that off because it could just be that man's voice carrying into this group. We're very, very critical on that stuff.
As you should be.
Exactly.
Okay. What would you say the percentage? So you guys go out, you do a lot of hunts. I think more than a lot of groups do. And what % of them would you say you find evidence on?
So actual like hard evidence, I'd say it's less than half.
Yeah.
It actually has been pretty significantly high recently in these two investigations. The one, like I mentioned before, Rogers Mansion, and then there's another location tied in with the Southampton Historical Society called the Halsey House. It's the oldest house on Long Island. I believe it was built in the late 1600s, but we just recently, within the past 2 months, have had an abnormal amount of evidence at that location. We actually just had our group meeting yesterday, and we played the EVPs that we got from one investigation at that location. And I believe we got probably close to 10 EVPs in one night of investigating, which is really incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah, it really is. It's absurd.
Wow. That is very amazing. Do you know who was coming through on those?
That we're trying to figure out still. We're getting both male and female voices. One of the EVPs that we got is the co-lead investigator, Dimitri. It actually came through on the Ovilus ITC. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Ovilus, how it spits out words that spirits can manipulate it and pull words from the data bank in the device, and it'll just say a word electronically.
Yes.
So we were using that, and our group is very skeptical of that piece of equipment specifically. We're not super sure if it's real or not yet, but while we were investigating, it spit out two of Dimitri's kids' names, like one after another.
And hold on, are they like normal names or?
They're not. I'm not going to say his kids' names on
Right.
podcast,
That's fair.
But no, they're not. They're really not. It's not like Tom and Joe. He's Greek. He's very heavily Greek, so they're Greek heavy names, and they're not a common name by any means.
That is wild. For me personally, when I've gone out and used that type of equipment, I've gotten nothing. So that you guys got something with that is mind-blowing to me and awesome and crazy.
We were pretty psyched.
Do you have to kind of tell the spirit there how to use it?
Sometimes whatever's there just seems to already know how to use it. But then there's times where, let's say, for example, we use these very small devices, little tiny black boxes. They're probably about half the size of a deck of cards. And all it is just a little blue light on top, and it has an antenna sticking up. They're called static pods.
Okay.
They just detect static electricity. So, for example, if you walked past it, your pants rubbing together, that could give off enough static electricity to make that light up. That's all it does. It just lights up blue when it detects static electricity. So one of the basic things that we might do is, if we have those set up down a hallway, we'll say, whoever's here with us, if you're here with us, can you just let us know by walking down this hallway and lighting up those blue lights? And if one of them or all of them go off, that would be amazing. But if one of them goes off, you obviously investigate it further, but that might be something. But stuff like that where, I have this K2 meter in my hand. If you come near it, it might light up. Can you do that for me? That kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, before we wrap this up, what would you say your absolute favorite paranormal experience you personally have had has been?
Oof, that's a heavy question.
I know. That's why we asked
um,
it.